What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning into the Colby Health and Wellness Podcast. This is part of my effort to give you a zero-cost to consumer platform so that you're finally able to understand these key aspects of your health and finally do something about it. Today, we're going to be talking about hair loss. We're going to be talking mostly about men, a little bit about women's hair loss, but mostly about men because men are the ones that really struggle with hair loss the most. Men are the ones that have the most DHT conversion. They have the most DHT in their body. They're the most prone to temporal shedding and eventually balding. And for a lot of men, it's in their 30s to their 50s and even 60s sometimes. Now, keep in mind, genetics play a massive role in this. So, what I say is true for someone, it might not be true for someone else. There are men that can blast all the anabolic steroids they want, especially the harsh DHT derivative steroids, and they're going to have a full head of hair for the rest of their life. I'm jealous. But there's some men that at the age of 18 and even their early 20s, they start losing hair. And they start shedding it real bad and it starts thinning out. And by 25, they're bald. Everyone's different. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this and when you're talking about it. Now, when we're talking about this and you might notice hair shedding, you need to know that you're roughly a quarter gone as far as the hair goes. That's the scary thing. There's some studies that say it's almost even half of your hair is gone. By the time you notice it shedding, you are like 20 to 50% shedded out. Like totally shed out. Like 100% bald ass motherfucker, right? So, you need to get on it and be proactive about it as soon as you see it and as soon as you see something going on. And technically, it's not illegal. It's not bad to do this stuff beforehand as well. So, what are the ways that you can get rid of this? Now, for men, there's a couple of big different factors that can lead someone to hair loss. The biggest one, by and large, and by a long shot, is going to be men that have DHT in their body, and it is a derivative of testosterone, and that DHT is important for a whole bunch of other sexual maturation and function. However, it also causes shedding on the temporal areas of your hair, and it also causes shedding on the crown of your head, basically where that cowlick is back here, right? It can be responsible for growing facial hair in. DHT. It also depends on your genetics. I mean, you can have a ton of DHT and you might never grow a beard in. I don't know. However, that's typically where those androgen receptors are. So you're going to start losing it out of the temporal spots, the crown of the head, start growing in on the beard. It's usually what happens. Typically how it works. Right? Now, for some people, it might just be diffuse shedding all over. For some, it might just be really, really hard hit on the hairline. And you've got regular amount of hair, and it just starts growing back and back and back. Right? So it can go a whole bunch of different ways. Some things mean possibly slightly different things, but again, if you're really worried about how it's going on, and if it's going on, it's best to check with a doctor. I'm just telling you these big main things that can happen. Right? This is not medical advice by any means. Okay, so by and large, it's testosterone related issues, which converts them into DHT and knocks out that hair. There it goes, right? Second thing, stress. All right. Stress can be a massive driver and determinant, especially even for women's hair loss. That's a big part of it as well. And then the third being malnutrition. That's a big thing for women as well. And also men, but if you think about women, like, it's genetics. It's genetic predisposition. A lot of African American women, women of African descent, they can have super, super curly hair and it's just really short. They're not going to have a whole bunch of hair. You know, they're not destined to grow out a whole, fro. They're just got a little bit of hair. So that can happen too. It can be frustrating. I have seen some women that are African American and they are really struggling to grow out anything, so they wind up just buzzing it and putting a wig on. It can't happen. It's part of genetics. It's just is what it is. That's how the cookie crumbled for you. It's frustrating. But as I was saying, the other two big determinants are going to be malnutrition and, of course, your stress. These things can cause your hair to fall out in even big clumps and huge amounts. Obviously, cancer treatment, right? If you have cancer treatment, that can be an issue, but it's going to be something you know about. And it's going to be like you told when you do chemo radiation, your hair is going to fall out, right? And if you don't see any of these things happening to you, go consult a doc. Don't be an idiot. Try to figure out why your hair is falling out and make sure that you don't have, because like for a small percentage of the population, it can be something like cancer. It can be something like a terrible thyroid issue that's causing your hair to fall out. You fix that hormonal profile issue and your hair's back in, booming. It's back in business. The other thing is, you got to keep in mind, for some people, when they lose the hair, it's gone. It is just plain freaking gone. And for other people, they have a very high propensity to grow back. It depends on who you are. It depends on your age. Obviously, the older you go with age, the tougher it's going to be to grow that hair back. And depending on how much hair you have lost, it's going to be harder to grow the hair back. But for men, as we're talking about for most of the context today, and it does apply a little bit to women, but the younger you are, the faster you get on top of it. This is true for everyone. Younger you are, faster you get on top of it, and the more proactive you are about it, and the better things you can do to help the health of your hair cells, the better off you're going to be, by and large. By and large, regardless of your genetics, regardless of whether it was malnutrition or stress or hormones that cause it to go away, the best thing you can do is be proactive, be young, and do as much about it as you can, as fast as you can, right? So, the big things, at least for men, right? Talking about getting your hair back. The two big things out there commercially are going to be minoxidil and finasteride. Now, I'll explain what each of these things does. Now, minoxidil, this is going to be a topical. I believe there can be an oral tablet as well, but this causes the hair to essentially stop its shedding cycle. It's roughly every like 90 days, I think, is there's a shedding cycle for the hair. And it halts that shedding cycle. It says, hey, Chief, we're not dropping this hair. We're going to keep growing it, right? And so those hairs grow back quite a bit. And there's quite a bit of research saying that minoxidil can be helpful for both men and women with hair loss issues. Do a pretty decent job. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? The only downside to minoxidil is, and we don't even know this, sometimes you're screwed either way, but let's say you get on minoxidil. 6 months later, you get your hair back, and you say, this hair looks pretty good. I like it pretty much, and I'm going to try to keep it. And you just cold turkey stop the minoxidil, it's going to fall out. You're going to lose all of it, almost everything that you got. Now, there's some people that can just cold turkey come off. It's a very small population, can come off, and they're going to be fine. There's other people that might have to super, super carefully taper off, and they're still going to have issues, and they might still have it fall out. Some people might keep it. Depends on how you got it, how long it's been like that, and how long you've been doing the minoxidil for. But I would say if you're worried about minoxidil and you're ever considering not doing something for life, or you don't want to have to do something for life, I would not be doing minoxidil if I were you. I wouldn't say it's a great option. For some people, it is going to be the only thing, and you're just going to have to suck it up and do it for life. But if you can avoid it, I wouldn't do it. The other thing, finasteride or dutasteride, they're similar but different, like same but different, right? It's something that blocks the DHT, and you can get it topically with less systemic effects, or you can take it orally. It's going to cause more systemic effects. The interesting thing about finasteride or dutasteride, if you are a man and you are running anabolic steroids, it is not going to reduce the DHT in your body. That's the whole idea of what finasteride is doing. It is knocking down the DHT. And if you are a man that is growing in your growth phase and you are running anabolic steroids, number one, that's a terrible idea in the beginning. But number two, if you try to stunt what is going on with that DHT process, you are ruining maturation processes. You're actually causing the non-maturation of your male genitalia. How scary is that? So make sure if you're doing this stuff, you are well beyond the age of puberty. I would not be doing this if you were in puberty. End of story. So, and even if you do it topically, yes, there are less systemic effects, but there are still systemic effects of it. Now, what's really frustrating is there are some things like was a research chemical. It's called RU58841. I believe that's the name of it. and it is supposed to like stop hair shedding and hair loss. However, it was only a research chemical. It did a couple of small clinical trials, and for whatever reason, it was shelved. Do we know if it's dangerous? Do we know if it's terrible? If you talk to the people in the subreddits, they're gonna say that it's okay. Some people get a little bit of heart palpitation. Some people get nothing at all. Some people say that they feel like their head's on fire. Depends, and it's not cleared by the FDA. So like your purity might be like 2% or like 99%. You don't really know. You know, it's not like cleared by the FDA. Minoxidil is, and so is finasteride or dutasteride. So those can be, pretty safe options. However, if you stop the finasteride, right, and then that hair, you either stop the hair loss and you might get a little bit of growth back with finasteride. You might not keep it if you get off the finasteride. And the longer you go in your life, so let's say you lose your hair at 30, or you're losing a lot of hair at 30, immediately get on minoxidil or finasteride, and you run it all the way until you're like 60, right? You're still going to experience diminishing returns and diminishing results with it the whole time that you're taking it, right? It's just either you were here and bald, and then you got up here, and you're here, and it's kind of slow taper down, or you just keep here the whole time. Like, it's whatever you want to do. The other thing that you can do, and this is a thing that I really like, is actually microneedling. And microneedling with a couple of peptides. Peptides are these small, short chains of amino acids that are in a specific sequence that cause signaling to certain areas of your scalp and can help your hair grow back. It is not guaranteed. There are some people that are going to be screwed regardless, but for some people, and a decent amount of people, this can be something that helps. This can help maximize your minoxidil treatment, and if you do peptides, it can help the absorption of the peptides. By the way, the microneedling alone can help the hair grow back in some people. It can be a significant helper in some people. The results vary widely in the research, but it can help some people grow back their hair. So, what would you do? I would recommend, if you're going to be doing a topical system, which is just putting it on your hair, right? I do recommend that you, number one, follow the labels on the prescription on the bottle. But if it's allowed, I would do a little bit of microneedling. The microneedling takes these tiny, tiny, tiny little needles, and it's a closed one, right? So it's not a big jagged open edge at the bottom. Like, okay, for this, so like we got a syringe right here. If you look very carefully at this syringe, I don't know if that's going to help you see it much better, but it is a cutting edge. It is a cutting blade on that syringe. So, if you look at it from the side, here's what it looks like. And I'm trying to help you understand that this microneedling isn't as bad as you think it is with a general needle, right? So for a general needle, you're going to have the shaft of the needle, and the shaft of the needle is going to look like that. And then at the base, it's going to fan out a little bit, and it's going to come in to this tip, right? Just like that. So you got the base, and then it's going to fan out. It's going to come down on that. It's going to fan out. And on this edge right here, this whole edge is razor sharp, and it cuts as it goes in. That's what this is, right? That's your general, like, punch a needle and deliver medication, sub-Q, intramuscular, whatever. Here's the thing about a minoxidil needle. The same as like a dry needle, right? It is this, number one, it is an extremely small shaft on that needle, and it comes down. I'm just very over-exaggerating what this is looking like, and then it comes down into the super, super fine tip, right? And so you got the base, and then it just shimmies down into literally nothing. It doesn't fan out, and it doesn't cut, doesn't have a cutting edge on it. It's extremely, extremely pointy, right? So this causes less bleeding, this causes less pain, this causes less issues. You might notice if you've ever been tapped with a dry needle, you don't even notice it entering half the time. You don't even understand that there's something that's breaking the skin barrier because it's not physically cutting open the flesh in the cell, and it's not lysing it. So it's much less painful. It is still painful to put it on your scalp, but it's not like a giant freaking like syringe that you're constantly pushing into your scalp. That can cause different issues. And as far as the dry needling goes, you should only be doing this like once, maybe twice a week. There's studies that say once a week at 1.0 to 1.5 millimeters is beneficial. There's also studies that say 0.6 millimeters twice a week can be beneficial. However, this isn't so number one, do your own research, but also this isn't something like the American ideal is. Because the American ideal is, I tell you to take 2, you think 4 is better, and so 8 is, the best, and so you take 8. I only told you to take 2. If you overdo the dry needling, you can cause fibrosis on the skin, and it doesn't help it grow anymore. It actually hurts the growing process. So, you need to be careful. You need to make sure you're not overdoing it. And if you do microneedling for like a year or 2 years or something like that, like almost regardless of the depth that you do it, unless it's like extremely shallow, you can still cause fibrosing. So this is something that you're going to be doing. You're going to have to hit it hard for like 3 to 6 months, and you're going to have to do it consistent, and then you're going to stop because you can't do it all the damn time. You will cause fibrosing in the skin. And when you're going in, you are punching these tiny little holes into the dermal layer. You're trying to increase that hair follicle and the blood flow to it. Interesting thing enough, things like tadalafil or Cialis, those what a lot of people call them as boner medications. Number one, they're also great for blood pressure, and there's a lot of young men out there that have blood pressure issues as well, so I would actually get tested for that. You might even need something like tadalafil. It would help you with that. However, back to it, that is a PDE5 inhibitor, so it is a vasodilator, and it acts on the nitric oxide receptors. So that increase in vasodilation allows more it allows more blood flow to the scalp and actually can cause some hair regrowth. It's been tested clinically in studies, and it has shown that it has a mild effect at either stopping hair loss or helping bring back some of your hair. It's really interesting. So keep in mind things like that. So where are we at? We need to identify what the cause of the issue is. We need to identify how to stop that, and then we need to bring the hair back in. So we're in the bringing the hair back process. So we've talked about finasteride, topical or oral. Obviously, the oral ones are going to have much more systemic effects in the body. We talked about finasteride or dutasteride. They're same but different. I would just look it up, and that's a different explanation. It'd be easier for you. It's way too much to unpack in a video of this size. We've got minoxidil as well, and now we're going to talk about peptides. Now, the best peptides in the market seem to be peptides called PTD DBM with it is acrylic acid, I think it is. I don't want to say it's acrylic acid. It's some sort of acid that goes with it. It's very common. Honestly, if you look it up on like ChatGPT, it'll help you lay out the whole thing. But that is going to go through, and you don't need the acid with it, but that peptide is going to be something that ignites through, it goes through the beta carotene pathway, and it allows more hair to regenerate and actually grow back. And so it helps more hair follicles sprout up. Now, like I said, you can do these without doing the microneedling. It's just going to be less effective. So keep that in mind. And the doses and everything, you're going to have to figure out your own dosing for you and what you need. But the other one is a peptide. It's called GKU with the copper in it. So it would be GKU-CU. And that CU helps with the absorption, helps with the uptake of that peptide. And it helps the hair grow. It can help a little bit of hair grow back, but it helps it grow stronger, right? And so you have a combination of hair growing back, actually growing regeneration of new hairs, and hairs growing stronger. Pretty reasonable. Keep in mind, if you only do the one that helps the hair grows back, you're just going to get these tiny, tiny little wispy hairs growing back, and they might develop and mature into, full-blown hairs, hair follicles, or they might just die out once you're done, and they kind of just stay as these small wispy hairs, and they just go away, right? Now, here's the other thing. Let's say I've got a scalp like mine, right? I got maybe a touch of bringing it back here in the corner, right? A very, very small amount. This is very reasonable for someone in their late 20s, right? So, if I had it way back, right? And I had and it was I was looking terrible, right? And it was coming way back on my head. And it's slick bald. Do not expect that to be coming back with a whole bunch of new hairs filling back in your hairline where it was and where it is 3 inches back now. Don't be doing that. It is not. Don't think that that's going to actually happen. Don't think that you're actually going to be able to do that, because those hair cell follicles have miniaturized so much that they're probably dead, and you probably can't bring them back. With this microneedling and the peptides and the minoxidil and the finasteride, you're all just trying to bring back and enhance the current hair cells that you have. If they are dead, they have fallen out. There is no hair left. Brother, you might be screwed. And in that case, you're going to need to do something a little bit more intense, like stem cell therapy. You could do some stem cell therapy. Maybe exosomes. We don't really know yet. We don't have a ton of great research, but it seems very promising. Or you can also do a hair transplant. Hair transplants where, you're talking about a lot of money there. These other things we've been talking about so far is maybe a couple $100 for treatment, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Depends on how long you do it and all the things that you do with it and how consistent you are and blah, blah, blah. But stem cell therapy is a couple $1,000. Probably. I don't even know where you get it done at. And if you would do a hair transplant, which, obviously if you're in your 40s and it's halfway back on your head, you got severe, hair loss issues, you're probably going to need a hair transplant at that point. I wouldn't be trying to do, dry needling and poking spots in your head and trying to do peptides. Those things are for if you got a head of hair like mine, you're trying to get it nice and thicker. I got a little bit. It's really hard to see unless I'm really wet down on my hair, but you can almost see just a little bit back into my hair, but not much, So if I really wanted to build back in my hairline and get it thicker, which I do, I want to make sure I keep as much hair on my head as possible, I would be a candidate for doing microneedling, right? And doing the little stamp needling. And then I would be doing, peptides or minoxidil if I wanted to keep on that regimen for life or whatever, right? But if it's severe and it is pushed back on your damn head, you're probably going to be want to be doing either stem cells if they say it's a great idea for you, or you might want to be booking a ticket to Turkey and getting some hair transplant done. And there are, young men. I've seen young men on the internet, and they need a hair transplant at 25. It's tough. It's really tough. It's not fun. But it's not the end of the world if you're bald, but, can really mess with people's confidence a lot. So keep that in mind. Really, what you need to be doing and you need to think about is just the idea of damage control. Identify what the problem is and stop that problem from happening. Build back your hair as much as you can to a healthy level and get as sustainable as possible, and then leave it be. And then just hold your regiment, and just hold. If you gotta keep doing minoxidil, you gotta keep doing it. If you gotta keep doing finasteride, you gotta keep doing it. Stuff like that. Just make sure that you can get it to the best spot you can, and just stop the shedding from happening further. Stop it from happening further. That's about all you can ask for. Otherwise, you're better off just buzzing it and going bald, brother. So that's all I got for you today. Women, it's pretty much the same thing. I'd be doing the microneedling. You can do the hair transplants as well. The only issue is for guys, every guy I've ever seen that has had a hair transplant. There are very, very specific cases and very unique ones. It's not a true hair transplant, but they can take hairs that are like full length and put them here, and they can put them up here, and it does fall out, and then it kind of grows back later. Is kind of how that works. But what happens is, for women, is they don't want to buzz their head, and understandably so. So maybe a hair transplant isn't the best thing for you. If I was a girl, I would be looking at minoxidil. I would be looking at what is actually causing my hair to fall out, because usually girls don't have tons of issues with hair falling out. If you're a girl and you got an issue with hair falling out, I'd be looking at your diet. I'd be looking at your stress level. I'd be looking at your genetics. Is it genetically related? And I would be doing as much as I could to stop those factors from advancing. Men, it's usually androgen related. Keep that in mind. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this helps you in your journey of figuring out what you want to do. If you have any questions, drop them below in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them and help you out as much as I possibly can. Peace, love, and happiness. Take care, guys.